Okay, so continuing in this, what does it look like to be a good missionary, to raise up good missionaries? Another one, man, good missionaries, we see where we're at as stationed by God. We're stationed there by God. Jim Elliot, brilliant missionary. Wherever you're at, be all there. Be stationed by God. Acts 17, this is, I love this. God made from one man every nation, all ethnos, to live on the face of the earth. It sounds like he just kind of threw them out there, right? But he determined allotted periods and boundaries of their dwelling place. Isn't that beautiful? God didn't just sort of scatter us out there and we'll see what happens. No, he, like a GPS pin, decided to drop you in that little village you're in, that little town you're in right now, and the one I'm in. He could have had us anywhere at any point in time, and this is where he's got us right now. And a good missionary sees himself like a good soldier stationed here. God wanted me here right now. You may not be there forever. I may not be here forever, but right now we're right here, right? And so, man, embrace that. In fact, if you're kind of like itching to get out of your town, just embrace that you're there where you're at right now because God wants you there, and just be faithful. Good missionaries, next, they don't give up easy. In Acts 14, Paul gets stoned by a group of people. They think he's dead. They leave him. He gets up and goes back in the same city. Incidentally, I know of 3 church planters who have done the figurative version of that. One of them right now, we're in the process of helping. Twice he has been run out of this city and he's back again. They just can't shake it as a family that there is a geographical calling on them for this place. They want to see this town that nobody loves get the gospel, right? Don't give up easy is the lesson there, right? And too often we give up easy. William Carey, if you know anything about him, if you want to go study him, just a brilliant story of this guy who went 7 years before he saw his first convert. His wife literally went insane due to the pressures of the mission field. He had 12 months of work burned up one night in a fire. I mean, the guy just got it handed to him. And he just started right back over. And he wrote in his journal, actually, he said, and I love this, he says, I wish to be still and know that the Lord, he is God, and to bow to his will and everything. So he's saying, I know the right things to say and feel, and I know the Bible answer to this, but he says he will no doubt bring good out of this evil and make it promote his interest. But at the present, the providence is exceedingly dark. So this is like, you're not just like, you're not lying about the difficulty. You just refuse to give up. He's like, man, I know the right answer. I know God will turn this all around for his good. I can also admit this is really dark. This is really sad. This is really hard. That's the importance, too, of being a part of something like Relational Mission, being part of something where you've got a brotherhood, a sisterhood of other churches and leaders that you can say, man, pray for me. I don't want to give up, but this is really hard right now. So don't give up easy. Next, good missionaries, we do what we love to the glory of God. If you've ever seen the movie Chariots of Fire, if you haven't, it's been out way too long. I'm going to spoil it for you, and that's okay. You should have seen it. It was on VHS. But there's this great moment in there where the star, this guy, Eric Little, he says, God has made me fast, and when I run, I feel his pleasure. He's this Olympic athlete, and he was extremely fast, and there's this whole kind of like, moment where his family wants him to go be a missionary in China, and he goes, actually, but God made me good at running. And when I run, I feel his pleasure. He found a way to convert this thing that he was good at. He converted it for gospel mission. He did what he loved. He did what he was good at, and he did it to the glory of God. This is something I would encourage you to help as you coach people in your small groups or in your churches or whatever, as to how to be a good missionary. What's God made you good at? Okay, well, how do you use that? Someone actually one time in the UK, I talked about this, and a year later I came back and they said, hey, we did it. I did it. And I was like, tell me the story. And they said, well, you actually said running, and I'm actually good at running. And so I went and I did it. And I was like, well, yeah. And they said, I joined a Christian running club. And I was like, well, were there like non-Christian running clubs, like running clubs, just plain old running clubs? And like, oh, yeah. I was like, why didn't you join that one? Like, why join a running club full of people who are already Christians? Why don't you, you didn't get it. I'll be back in a year, right? But we do this though, we as our building I'm in right now, across the street is a recreation center where lots of like Kids play basketball every night, a lot of them underprivileged kids. And when we got this facility, there's a big concrete pad in the back, and everyone wanted to know, when are we going to put a basketball court on the pad? Why? Like right there, literally, I could throw a rock and hit it, is a basketball court with lots of people from our community who don't go to our church, who maybe don't know Jesus. Why would we build our own Christian basketball court, right? That's so stupid. But it is really the legacy, at least in America, of churches. We want our own Christian version of everything instead of just going, hey, let's just jump in and help. If you like to play basketball, go hang out with people who, and so that's what I'm encouraging you to do. As a good missionary, take what you love and use it to the glory of God. Find a way to connect it to the mission of God. The next one is just kind of the opposite of that. Good missionaries do what needs to be done. If you think about the Good Samaritan, we don't know that it was his hobby necessarily. It's not like we have a Dead Sea Scroll account of the Good Samaritan's hobby was going around picking up sort of next to dead people on the side of the road and rehabbing them at his own expense. That's nobody's hobby, but it needed to be done. And Jesus ends that passage by saying, you go and do likewise. Who's your neighbor? It's the person in trouble that you see right in front of you. You just do what needs to be done. And honestly, a lot of what we're doing as a church right now to love and serve our community just needed to be done. I mean, the stuff we're doing with addiction ministry, or the way we've responded to like natural disasters like hurricanes, or the way we've jumped in and tried to help rescue girls in our area from human trafficking. It's not like that was a hobby, it just needed to be done. So do what you love, but also do what needs to be done, right? Just a couple of more. Good missionaries actually love their cities. We've talked about this already some, but man, there's something about that Jeremiah 29 passage. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, to all the exiles whom I've sent into exile. So they're stationed in exile. Build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat their produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons. Give your daughters in marriage, that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there and do not decrease. Seek the welfare of the city where I've sent you. Pray to the Lord on its behalf. Man, there's just something about like just jumping in and just loving the place, seeking the welfare of the place, embracing the place. Even this thing of owning a home. If that's something that's like within your ability financially, it does make a statement, and at least here in the States, maybe I'm not reading the culture right, but in the States, when you rent and you're in ministry, there's a kind of a disconnect between your real connection to the place. It's like you're sort of transient. And so for us, anyway, this is just, maybe it's just our side. We try hard to find a way to connect, to root in, to live this passage out and go, man, we're here. We really love this place. So the last thing I'll give you is that good missionaries see all of life as opportunities for mission. And if this is for you, or especially people you're trying to coach and bring through, this has been for me the most difficult thing for people to get their head around. And hopefully, I'm going to give you some tips to help that happen. Because a lot of us think about mission as something that happens in another country, or that happens at certain events, on Easter or something. And so we've got to break that mentality. It happens all the time. It's all around us. And so I want to try to give you some of the ways that I've been helped to do this, and really the ways I've used to help other people do this. And I've kind of broke them down so they all start with P. That's what us pastors do. We make everything start with the same letter. So here's some tips, and I hope this helps you. The first one is be present. Be present. And so I'm going to use the example of going to the grocery store, going to the market, because I think it's one that all of us have. It's current enough in our lives that hopefully it'll be a rhythm that will be something you can adapt easily. So be present. When you go to the grocery store, this thing right here, this phone, that is the biggest enemy to being present. Pretty much anywhere, everywhere. But you walk into the grocery store and you're just kind of walking around with the cart like this. What are you communicating? What would I be communicating? I don't care about you. I just care about whatever's on this phone, And so this is a great tip for being a missionary right there. Hands free. You want to be present. You want to have your eyes open to the people that are all around you. You're not just kind of going through the motions. You're actually, you're looking at the people. You're engaging people. So be present. That's the first one. My friend Scott Slayton says, that Your neighbors can't see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven if you drive fast up the driveway, into the garage, shut the door, and go watch Netflix all night. You actually have to be present. You have to actually be around people. So be present is the first one. The second one is be persistent. So again, grocery store. Man, pick a grocery store and go to that one every time. I've got one in town. I go there multiple times a day. No exaggeration. But I can go there at any point in time of the day, and I can tell you who's going to be where in the store. I know every employee in the store. If I go at 6:30 in the morning, I know that Joseph is going to be washing lettuce and putting it up on this side. If I go at 8 o'clock, I know that either Wyatt or Tony or Coy are going to be filling the meat counter at the butcher station. I know all the people who work at the various registers. I know all of them. And I wear this place out. I'm there all the time. I know every single employee there. And I pick a few of those different registers, and I will look for these particular people that work there. So I don't just know everybody. I've got a few people that I really try to make sure I go out of my way and talk to every single time. I'm there over and over and over again. So I'm present, I'm persistent, and then also be patient. I'm patient, So far, revival hasn't broken out at the grocery store, but I have had some pretty amazing conversations. I've also had one of the guys who works at the meat counter, because it's a small town, you find out everything. Apparently, he couldn't figure who I was. He couldn't figure it out. So he went and asked someone else, and they stalked me on Facebook and found out I was a pastor. And then the next time I saw him, he brought it up. I mean, he was so intrigued, by what is this guy's deal, that it led to all that little investigation, I'm just going to be patient. I'm going to keep loving. And I know that, God, there's an opportunity there for God to open up somebody's heart, and I'll be right there, right? And so I'm present, I'm persistent, I'm patient. And then the next one is I'm prepared. I'm ready for that conversation. I want to see that conversation happen. And we have had lots of these stories. One place that I would go to a lot, I went in, and the woman said, "Can I please speak to you outside?" She was the lady who worked at the front desk. Walked outside, and she burst in tears, and she said, "You're the pastor at One Harbor, right?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She tells me the story of how her son, as a teenager, had been raped repeatedly, and how it led to a prescription pill addiction, and then to a heroin addiction. And she was like, my son is going to die. She said, "Somebody told me that you guys help with stuff like this. Is there anything you could do to help my son?" Now, that was a lot of, that particular place I've been going for years, going there every time, exclusively, and it created this opportunity where I could jump in and say, "Man, how can we help your son?" There have been lots of other times where I wasn't prepared. I'll quickly tell you a story. I was on vacation. It's our 8th anniversary. My wife found us this deal down in Puerto Rico, which is like a cheap flight for us from where we live. And we were in this little village in Puerto Rico. We were in a restaurant that had 4 seats total in the whole restaurant, 1 table with 4 chairs. And we got 2 of those chairs, and this other 2 chairs were empty. Very small village, very small restaurant, very small table. My wife and I, 8th anniversary, candle, romance, the whole thing, right? And then another couple comes in and they sit down in these other 2 chairs. And we think, cool, no problem. Just me and my wife, right? And then the lady who's in this couple here, in this little village in Puerto Rico, this little table, she goes, "Donnie?" I was like, "Nope." Have you ever seen Jurassic Park? Where the dinosaur comes really close and they just have to hold still and maybe the dinosaur will go away? That's what I was trying to do. I just thought I'll just keep staring at my wife. She's like, "Donnie." And I was like, clearly she's talking to me. And so I turned and she's like, "Hey, we have been dying to check out your church." I was like, "What? Am I in some kind of nightmare right now? I'm on a date with my wife in a village in Puerto Rico at a restaurant with a table with 4 chairs. And lo and behold, this couple, apparently I went to high school with her. They live right near where we live here in North Carolina. They were on vacation at the same time, and God had them sit at the same table right there. Now, I was not prepared, all right? So I need to tell these stories so I'm not always knocking out of the park. I was not ready to be talking about Jesus and the gospel and everything on this date with my wife, but man, God set this opportunity up. So be prepared. There's a great story where Jesus, when he encounters that woman at the well, he tells his disciples, "Go to this big town or this town and get food." And then he meets one woman. They got a whole town. He's got one lady. And in this conversation, you know the story, she opens up, her whole life gets turned upside down. She drops her jar that she had for water, runs back to this town, tells everyone, they all come down in mass, and it says they see and go, man, he is indeed the Savior of the world, right? The disciples just went and got some groceries. Nobody heard the gospel. Nobody got their lives changed. They just got groceries. Jesus had one lady that he could talk to, and an entire town got saved, right? The lesson here is, hey, let's grocery shop like Jesus. Let's be like Jesus here, and not like the disciples. Don't be so fixated on all the things you have to get done. Actually, look and keep your eyes open and be prepared for the fact that there are people all around you who need Jesus at any given time. And then just two more quick ones. Practice. And so just be going through this stuff all the time. So petrol station, whatever it is, just all the time be practicing. Jesus said that he would make us fishers of men. I love that fishing analogy. We fish a lot where I live. You guys probably fish a fair amount where you live, depending on kind of where you're at on the coast there. But every time you go fishing, you don't catch something, right? We have a saying here. They don't call it catching; they call it fishing, because you don't always catch something, right? But you never catch any fish sitting at home watching a YouTube video of other people catching fish. You actually have to get out there and try. And so, man, just get out there and try. Especially if you're really introverted, this can be tough. It's kind of like a junior high dance. The boys are on this side and the girls are on this side. You have to kind of work yourself up a little courage there. And, maybe if you're very introverted, you start off by saying, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say hi. Get in there and you just muster up the courage. Hi. I did it. Cool. Next time I'm going to say, my name is, right? You have to work yourself through this a little bit. That's okay. Just practice. Just get at it. And the last thing, the most important thing, if you're not going to do anything else, is pray. Don't just be a nice person at the store. No, pray. Go in prayed up that God is going to open some doors. So I'll sit sometimes in the car and I'll just say, God, please help me. I know that there's a guy named Greg. He at the grocery store. And since COVID happened, he's the guy out wiping all the carts down, before people put their hands on him. And he's just pouring with sweat all the time. And I just, man, God's given me a soft spot for Greg. And so I just pray, God, please give me some opportunity to love on him and encourage him. And for if Barbara's working, or if Peaches is working, these are all real people. God, help me. Open a door. Lord, if there's something I can say to point to you, just, man, God, I don't want him to think I'm just a nice guy. I want him to know that you're a great God. Help me, empower me. Give me words. Give me whatever you want to give me to help me be a good missionary. So pray. These are just some tips that have really helped me. And I've actually found them super helpful for people who just can't figure out how to be on mission. Just walk them through these, and just, if you're really good at it, bring people with you. Let them see you do it. Let them watch you do it. Demystify it. It's not just because you're really special. It's just, hey, these are just some of the things I do that help create opportunities for me to love and serve others. Guys, I really hope this helps you guys be better missionaries and raise up lots of other missionaries.